Hey, girlfriend. Welcome to the Being Brave Tour. And we're here today with Jodi Schilling. And she has been a friend, a mentor, a coach to me. And I am so thrilled to be bringing this thought model. It's a tool to get you to live, like we said, to live your best life, as what Jodi and I were talking earlier. And for me, though, it's been a real tool that I can go back to time and time again because one, I can remember it. Two, it's easy, and that has such incredible results of how you want to feel in your life and those results. And we'll talk more, get more into that. But Jodi, welcome to the Being Brave Tour.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and I hear you are
Yeah,
on spring break from your second graders. So you are an educator, a coach. You have many, many years of expertise in that coaching field in different aspects of your career. So tell us a little bit about you and where
yeah,
you come from.
yes. I was just thinking, when did I start all this? And how we do it's all of a sudden it's 2026. And I thought, oh, I really started it right before the pandemic and had listened to a podcast, and that's where I was introduced to this tool. And I went ahead and just went for it. I said, this has been so impactful for me to be able to apply in my life that I wanted to teach it to other women.
Mhm.
And so I started my coaching journey and became certified as a coach with the cognitive coaching model. And then for a while, I was family crisis focused. And then I was more around how we define ourselves as a good mom. And I had a lot of mom clients.
Yeah.
And I've since learned in all my coaching since that time that I've coached teachers through burnout and moms on being a good mom and family crisis. And through the through line with no matter what the topic is really, it's about how do we want, like you said, how do we want to feel? How do we want to create results in our life? And where do we have power to do that? And we don't always know, kind of feel like we're responding to circumstances all the time and we're trying to set goals and achieve them and make changes in our life. But we don't, this tool really helped me. And we don't always recognize that we have power. So that's where I'm shifting now as I'm in this stage of 58 and empty nest and what do I want this chapter of my life to be like? And so that's the women that I'm working with more now is some of them have a family crisis. I mean, we all go through real life things, but
Yes.
yeah, it's more about this time in our life. What do we want to create for ourselves and how do we want to experience it and where do we have power to do that? So
Oh my goodness, that is so fabulous. How do we want to experience life in this stage? And one of the things that you have really helped me is different relationships. Life is full of relationships, and this is what the tool has
yeah,
helped me really clarify. And I want to go a little bit more into it, but also with one of the things that is really popping up a lot lately, and that one of the things that you've helped me with is relationships with adult children. Because you know
yes,
what, a lot of us are in a different role. We have adult children, and that mom, we're still mom, but yet we're in a different space as with those adults. And what does that look like, and how can that
yeah,
flourish? And
yes,
sometimes, we talk as a mom, and we forget that. Oh wait, I'm not. I'm not in the mom space anymore. I'm in the mentor or the whatever. I don't even know what you even call it. But anyway, so this I love this model because, like I said, it really clarifies it. We're going to talk about kind of go into it because we're going to walk through an example. And what I love too here is that you've given us some ideas of what might be a circumstance or what might be a thought or and some explanation around that. So Jodi, let's talk about this. So we'll use I wrote up an example that actually is in my life currently, and so would love to also have you kind of pipe in maybe some examples too of how this works. So first of all, give us an overview of what is the model and explain, and then we'll go into the details about what it is. And ladies, I want to let you know that this model is written out in our first issue of the Being Brave Tour magazine. And we'll put the link so you can download it. There's a PDF version. You can go right to currently to favelifestyles.app, and hopefully we're going to change the URL to Being Brave Tour shortly. But you can go there and you can get the PDF. You can get the direct link to the Flip magazine. You can have this in your hands, or you can look at it too. So if you want to go take a moment and go pop over there and look at that, so you have it in hand, that would be great. But for those that don't have it in hand and are just listening, Jodi, tell us a little bit about this thought model and what this looks like.
Yeah. So you can just use this on any piece of paper. You just basically memorize these 5 letters, and I'll tell you what they each stand for, but it's CTFAR. And that just gives you kind of a tool or a structure for putting a circumstance that you are going through in your life. So that's your C line, and your thoughts about that circumstance, because this is where we always talk about what do we have control over and what we don't have control over. So this is it right here, is where we have our thoughts. That's the T line. And then we all have emotions, as we know.
Uh-huh.
And so the F is for feelings. And our feelings about anything are really what drives what we do in life. And that's part of being human. And so our feelings need to be processed and felt. But they are tied to our thoughts. And a lot of times we think that our feelings are from our circumstances, but there really is that space in between where we have the thought about the circumstance. So those are our first 3 lines: circumstance, thought, and feeling. And then, as I said, from the feelings, whatever feelings we are having, big, emotional, hard, happy, we take actions from those feelings. So the A is the action line. And that is really what creates the results in our life.
Mhm.
So when we have, as I said, any circumstance and we use this tool, we can kind of like sort it out in our head. You know how we talk about, I just need to process this, or I need to think it through. And a lot of times we do it in our head, but it gets very jumbled. And this tool gets it down, kind of like organizes it for us,
Yes.
clarifies it for us. And it's just so simple. And when you
Yes.
write down the 4 things, the C, T, F, and A, then the big reveal in the R line is you're getting from those 4, from kind of having the self-awareness of what's going on with those 4, um, I guess you call them thoughts, but the 4 pieces, right? Circumstance, thought, feeling, and action. And then you get a result and you realize, okay, this makes sense. This is why this is occurring in my life, or this is the result that I'm
Yeah.
getting, whether I like it or not. It's part
Yes.
of this, yeah, it's part of
Yeah.
this self-awareness.
And I want to pipe in just for a second here, because you talked about something earlier about your power.
Yeah.
So when I was walking through this, I think when I first started working with you on this, I kept thinking of this as what I wanted the other person to do, what I wanted their result, or the result was
Yes.
how I wanted them to change or whatever.
Yes.
And the real power of this is that, Jodi, are you there? Oh no, we lost you. Let's see if she pops back in. Are you back?
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
Yes, so we might be having some weather here in the Northwest that's making us pop off of the internet. Well, good to have you back. But what I was saying is that we were this power. I think when I walk through this, I shift it from the other person to me, of what I can control, what I am feeling, and brings it back to me and what I want the result for myself. And so that was a little bit of an eye opener for me too, to really take responsibility for me versus for other people. And so in this example in our magazine, we have it all around taking a brave step.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's
Yes,
let's walk through that and see what that looks like.
definitely. Yes. And so I think when I think about, this is more the goal side of what we try to do in our lives. And so when we think about taking a brave step, that's the action line of the model. But we can start anywhere in the model when we want to address something.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
good.
good. Yeah, it's a good, like maybe you're having overwhelming feelings. And so you can start there when you're going through your modeling process.
Oh,
Or you might be just having a thought that you're kind of like, you realize this thought is kind of taking over and you want to address it. Or it can be like the result line. I really want I have this goal. I want to get this done. Right. So,
that makes sense. And so even the other day, I was sitting and I realized I had this imaginary list of things that I thought I had to do. I mean, there was a lot of things to do, but I'm my own boss. I set my own
right.
expectations.
Yeah.
So I was making myself feel overwhelmed.
Yes.
I didn't think that I could start in the middle like that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But you also, I remember on two, there's kind of two sides to this, what you're thinking and what you really want. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that. So are we going to be just working with one side, or are we going to be working with kind of the both sides? I forget what you call it too. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, this self-awareness tool, the process of it, sometimes the most important thing for us to do is to recognize what is unintentionally happening in our brain, right?
yeah,
So that's the unintentional model. And it's kind of running on autoplay a lot of times, right?
yes.
We have a story, and like even your example of having a list of to do things, and then your story about that is, I have all this to do, and then kind of go to overwhelm,
Yeah.
right? But it's just kind of on repeat. And so using the tool to recognize what is unintentionally going on in our brain
Mm-hmm.
is often really the most helpful thing we can do, because what we tend to want to do is fix it. We want to recognize we have something, but skip over the whole processing of that part. We just want to go to, what's the intentional model that I want to have? What do I want to be thinking and feeling and doing and getting results for? So sometimes it takes a little more time and it's a little more work, but I do recommend, especially when you're new to the model, that you use it as a self-awareness tool to see what's going on unintentionally
Yeah,
before you
that
start.
unintentional
Yeah,
model reminds me of kind of taking responsibility for what really, what's happening, or, realizing where you're
yeah,
at. And, maybe you're assuming some things, or that's the story part that you're creating in your head, all this
yes,
overwhelm or worry or whatever that is. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
So
give us an example. Let's give an example of what this is going to look like.
yes. So we could use the example that is in there, or we could do a new example. I, Whatever we want to talk about, the one thing that came up for me recently that I was working on for a model was this over functioning that I tend to do. And
Yes.
and so in my work and in my family, I learned a long time ago that if I want something done right, I'm going to do it myself. And but that has served me in a lot of ways. It has served me well, but in other ways, I have learned to overfunction, where I'm
Mhm.
taking really more responsibility for others' emotions, or for just, if we have a bunch of tasks to share, I will tend to take maybe more of my share, right?
Okay, so girls, usually we have at a lot of our events, we have these little paddles that say, I relate. How many of you right now are putting in the comments, oh, I relate, I overfunction, I overgive, I I'm doing everything for everyone else, even when they haven't even asked. It's just like we
Yeah,
feel like it's, and we're taking responsibility
yeah,
for their emotions and all these things that really aren't even our responsibility.
not our job.
No, but I'm helping, all these. And then what happens to us? We get burnt out, or, all these other things that happen. So, oh, I so
Yes.
relate to this. This is a great example. Yeah, let's go with
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So if we think of this as this is an action that we are taking, this over functioning. So this is where when we have that CTFAR on our little pocket pad or just our little piece of paper,
Yeah.
then the A line is actions. So over functioning is definitely an action that I take.
Okay.
And what I want to learn, I want to back it up a bit, and I want to learn and understand better is what comes before the overfunctioning in the model. It is the feelings, right? So there's an emotion that's driving that for me to be overfunctioning. And the emotion is driven by a thought. And so in this case, for me, I feel like the thought I have is I have to hold it all together. I, right? I do. I have to, like, that's my role. That's a story that I have in my head. And the feeling really that comes from that is fear. It's if I don't hold it all together, it's going to fall apart.
Oh my gosh. You know what is so funny about this? Because this is one that I can definitely relate with. My son even called me out the other day. We were having a conversation and he goes, Mom, do you know you're coming from a place of fear? And I said, Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
I said, Yeah. I said, I never thought of it like that. I said, I think you're right. I need to explore
Yeah.
that some more. Yes, that's
Yes.
fear.
Yeah.
And I couldn't
So
really
fear,
identify what the fear was, though.
yeah. Yeah. And that's where the model helps because, like, even as we're just doing this together now, you can see how the connection between each of these things is what helps us get a better understanding. And so when I first thought of the action being over functioning, and then I think what the feeling is, I wasn't ready to identify the feeling until I thought, what am I thinking? And then I
Mm,
can go. So that's why it doesn't always, you can jump all over. Another example that we might have tried today might have had us start a different place. And so it's something that's very like you can use it in the moment and be flexible with having that self-awareness. And you kind of, it's a little bit intuitive to, as you start to be more aware of it, is to is to think like what's coming up for me? Is it a feeling that I'm having in my body, or is it a thought that I feel like I need, like I'm hearing a thought that I need to address?
yes. Yeah.
Or can I not stop thinking about the circumstance? Sometimes we have a really big circumstance in our life and it's all we can think about and we just keep replaying it, right? And so wherever you just have to be intuitive as you're doing this example, but in this case, thinking the thought that I have to hold it all together creates fear because the fear is if I don't hold it all together, it will fall apart. The action I then take is to overfunction. And overfunctioning looks like, for me, it looks like anticipating what the other person's emotion will be. Or it looks like cleaning up the whole house so that people feel comfortable when they come and having like doing more than I need to do, really, to um,
Hmm.
those are a couple of actions. So as you're using the tool, you put just the feeling in the F line, the thought in the T line, and then the action line is the one that usually you have more. You can think of more things that you do or you don't do, right? And inaction also goes in the action line. And some of us take inaction
Yeah.
about things. So
Yeah. In this example, too, I think some of the things that I personally do too is I feel like I have to have a conversation or I have to do something. And
yes,
that's that over functioning.
functioning.
It's like
Yes.
somehow I need to solve everybody's problems or, come to
Create
their
a plan.
yeah,
Yes.
rescue them from their emotions or, let them know
Fix.
that whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And I think fixing goes with over functioning too, right? Is
Right.
wanting to fix whatever it is for that person and having our idea be, without really, like I tend to do this where I think, oh, I can take care of this, right? I'm going to take care of all of it. And without consulting sometimes with the people that I'm going to fix everything for.
Right.
So yeah, that is what's It's just
Oh,
helpful to realize, and we can laugh about it too. I do think that that's another, like, it's kind of another benefit of this tool is self-awareness. It's just kind of like you can laugh at yourself when you see
yeah.
it and you
Yeah.
see yourself doing it.
Yes, when I realize that, I'm coming from this place of fear, and then I'm like, but what am I afraid of? And just it's like I started laughing at myself. I'm like, yeah, I was
I
doing
do
that,
this.
and it
Yes.
brings light to it. It's like, oh, I haven't done something wrong, it just is. And so I
Yeah.
think that's what this doing this model too, it takes some of the pressure off, like we haven't done something wrong. We are okay to where we are at, and we just maybe need to process. It gives you
Yes.
permission to go take a look at what's
Yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so if we move back up to the top of the model, in this example, for me, the specific, I would I would say whenever we're looking at a circumstance, it's an event that is happening in the world, right? It's maybe a relationship that we have with someone or an interaction we have with someone. A circumstance can be a conversation. It can be a
Mhm.
party, an event. And so for me, right now, it is the relationships with my adult kids where I tend to be over functioning.
Yeah.
And and so I can just in my C line, I can put relationships with my adult kids. So that as we do more work with the model, we learn that a circumstance is just something that is a factual thing that exists. It doesn't have any bias associated with it or anything else. It's very neutral. So I have relationships with my kids. I didn't say that I have good relationships or bad relationships or stressful relationships. I just said relationships with my kids is my circumstance. My thought is I have to hold it together, right? Like
Yes.
I'm taking on more of the responsibility of the relationship than is mine to take. It's creating fear. I'm really afraid that if I don't, the relationship will fall apart. And that the deeper fear is even that maybe I won't have a relationship with my kids, which is really a painful thought and feeling to have fear about. And so my remedy for that and the actions that I take are to overfunction, to try to make everything good for them and to try to fix anything and not say the wrong thing, all those kinds of overfunctioning behaviors. So then this is the big reveal. When I look at all of that, what result does all of that create for me when I think about my relationship with my kids? It creates a lot of weight for me to hold that whole relationship together, which
Yeah.
goes right back to my thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
is
can
it a
create
healthy
chaos
relationship?
too.
Yeah, right? Is it a healthy relationship? Not
No,
really.
no.
I'm not creating an experience of a healthy relationship, which is really what I want. But my thought is really what's creating these feelings and actions that are giving me actually the opposite. So that's
Yes.
why the self-awareness, yeah.
I think you came on today specifically for me, because this is so helpful, Jodi, just to know that, kind of giving you permission to yourself to walk through this. And it's
Yeah,
so funny because we try so hard and then we get the exact opposite result of what are really our intention is.
right, right.
Yeah, so
And
take
that's
us
why,
through, yeah, take us through the other side too. Or did
yeah.
you have something else?
So, yeah. So, and I'm glad that you're saying that we're giving ourselves permission and we're giving ourselves grace because I do think that there is this other kind of piece of being, moms or women where we do take on the responsibility and then we have self-judgment if we don't think we're doing a good job. So even in the self-awareness part of this, I think instead of us saying, oh, this is what's wrong with me, or this is what I'm doing wrong, or I need to fix myself, you're just going right back into that whole mentality
Yeah.
instead of thinking of it as, oh, I'm so glad I have this tool, like this is what my brain's doing. This makes sense. This is this is a fear response. I'm human. this is normal. You know what I mean? Like that is also, I think, important for us to do. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So then the next part is after we've done this self-awareness work and we realize, okay, I see where that thought is creating this feeling and action and result. Now I'm going to go over to the side where I'm going to do an intentional model and I'm going to think how, if my goal is truly a healthy relation, healthy, connected, and maybe, whatever words come up to you and as you think about it, like for me, it's also, I want to have a not just healthy and connected relationship with my kids, but I also want to have a balanced, I, there's a, there's a need for me to have a balanced relationship, where it doesn't feel like a teeter-totter where I'm overdoing and then I'm apologizing and then do you know what I mean? So I don't know if balanced, maybe it's more like stable. Um, so anyway, whatever word feels like your goal for
Mm-hmm.
the relationship, you put in the R line, and then you can go, like we said before, you can go to any line in the model to just kind of plug it in, right? Just plug in what works. And so in this case, I feel like I feel like the feeling, like if I just ask myself when I think about this model right now, what is coming up, one thing that's coming up for me is the feeling. And I want to have a feeling instead of fear, I want to have a feeling of safety. I just want to feel safe in
Mm-hmm.
my relationship. So if I feel safe, then I'm going to not overfunction. I'm going to interact in ways that are more like normal, I guess, more they're not going to have such a strong attachment to approval or to, right? So they're going to,
Right.
yeah, so it's going to be more like um, I'm going to not be keeping score of who texted first. I'm not going to, right? These are going to be
Yeah.
more inactions in this case for my intentional model because I'm going to um, not judge myself or them for what what the text messages say, maybe like all of these things that we do that are creating the feeling of I have to hold it together. I have to think in this action line the opposite of those things, right? So the
Yeah.
actions that, yeah,
Yeah. And,
that are,
Jody, some of the things that are coming up for me as far as the actions is one,
yes,
setting boundaries for myself, like
yes,
not to overfunction, and not to take
yes,
on the responsibility of somebody else or their actions or their emotions.
right,
Because as a mom, I think we tend to do that. We want to nurture, we want to, come around, oh, we got you, we got you. And
yes,
really, where first of all, they haven't asked us to do that.
yes. No,
We just
exactly.
want to jump in and help. And so, yeah, so setting boundaries for yourself and what that might look like,
Yes.
step
I
back
think
when, did they ask for my opinion?
exactly. Pause. Pause is
Pause.
a really good action in this model. I also feel like listen. I
Yeah.
think that I would listen as opposed to jumping in. That's another thing where in a, when I feel safe, then I tend to be much more of a listener and I just am more curious and just
Mhm.
like I don't have the need and the urge to overdo whatever or fix or I
Right.
also tend, yeah. So I think that listening, pausing, those are going to be in my action line of my new model.
Okay.
And I feel like when I feel safe, I those are naturally the actions I take when I
Yes.
feel safe, right?
Yes.
So, what do I have to be thinking in this circumstance with my kids, with my relationships with my kids to feel safe? I have to be thinking something along the lines of, and this is where we can play around with the thoughts until we get one that says yes, that creates that. So I think it's around the idea that I that our relationship is something we both contribute to, that that's a shared, it's a shared relationship. And I think also the thought it's not my job is a really like that helps me. Um
I, tag. No, I think that's my thought. It's not my job.
yeah, which also kind of gives you a release, right?
Yeah.
It does. Um yeah, it's for me it's something along those lines of, and I think there's the judgment piece also. Like I don't have the words right now to create the thought for it, but I think, and this is it's a journaling tool, so we can do that, we can do it at any time. But for me, I think that as I'm thinking it through, it's also about I don't want them to think that I'm, you know, over functioning or over controlling or judging them. And so this is where the it's not my job part comes in really well, because
Yeah.
it is not my job to be responsible for their emotions, right? And that's where this idea then of creating an intentional model, when we get some thoughts that we create, because this is what happens in the brain with, and why this tool is so powerful, is that, remember we were talking about sometimes we just have thoughts that are on autoplay.
Yes.
And then over time, those thoughts become beliefs if we think them over and over again. So
Mhm.
if I'm thinking that my kids are thinking I'm too controlling of a mom, I'm just creating those neural pathways to be stronger and have that story be more of a belief. And
Mhm.
that's harder than to create a new intentional model and a new way of thinking the more I've thought that other thought for a long time. So that's why it's important to try different thoughts on until you get one that your brain is more likely to believe. Because when you create a whole new belief around that, then you will have more examples and more thoughts that go with that same thought. And that feeling that you create, especially if it's a feeling of safety, then all kinds of chemical things happen in our bodies when we feel safe and when we feel happy and when we feel accepted. Then those dopamine and the other things that we have that are just natural, that also then creates a whole different experience, right? Because that's what we're talking about. How do we want to experience this?
Yes.
So
And Jodi, as you're talking through this, and through this intentional part, with that, we want a good relationship with our children.
yeah,
And that thought, that one just really is sticking with me. It's not my job. You know what that creates, what feeling that creates in me? Relief. I can
yes,
breathe. It's like, oh,
yes,
wait, that isn't my job.
yes,
My job. I just,
yeah,
okay, I'm sticking with this one. And then,
good,
setting boundaries for myself. This is kind of how I'm kind of experiencing this. And that result is clarity in a relationship of,
yes,
of our roles.
yes, yes. Clear boundaries,
Yeah.
clear identity of your role. And also, I think like being willing to say that it's the relationship is like we were saying, it is both, right? It's like letting them be adults is also kind of a release. And that I think that is a piece of it.
Hmm.
So I love that.
Wow. Wow. So let's go real quick. So the circumstance, let's talk through this real quick and just give that example and what you were,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
example.
So now that we've got to the intentional model, the circumstance is the same. It's still relationships with our adult kids.
Yeah.
But the thought is, it's not my job. And you can add on your little tagline there to fix it, to save it, to protect it, whatever, right? But it's just not your job to be responsible for that whole relationship. And then when you think that thought, it creates a feeling. So if the feeling is relief, then in your case, like relief, then you can feel that actually in your body, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, And then you think, what actions do I take when I'm thinking this relationship is not my job and I feel relief? Then what actions you've shared, a couple of them being setting boundaries and taking a pause before reacting, right? Not rushing to fix. So those are the kinds of actions you take when you feel relieved and you're thinking, this is not my job. And then the result that you create in that relationship for yourself, because you don't have control of their reaction, but what you experience is that sense of clarity, right? That you know what your role is in the relationship. You also have your boundaries around it, and
Yeah.
that's the kind of relationship you want. It's healthy.
And it kind of makes it also feel like you're showing up as an equal.
Yes.
So you were talking about that balance. Now it's balanced. It's not
Yes.
one-sided or the others, it's like, oh wait, and in coming in, and it's also a place of respect for them
Yes.
and for you.
Yes.
Honoring them
Exactly.
as a human and honoring yourself as well. So
Exactly.
it just has a beautiful ring to it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. Oh, I just love all this good stuff that we get to walk through together. Girls, you need somebody to walk you through this. It's hard to do it. And so, Jodi, in the magazine, we have also said, if a woman would like to walk through this model, is that still
Yeah.
available to her if to walk through this particular model with you?
Absolutely. Yes. Because sometimes just practicing, I mean, I've done just even a 15 or 20-minute walkthrough
Yeah.
of just actually trying a circumstance or this particular one out. And I feel like it's just a tool you can have with you and use. And it does take some practice though. And
Yeah,
I
it
think
does.
to try to do it on your own, it is a little tricky. So I'm happy to walk anyone through with any circumstance, anytime. It's just, yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
happy.
think, yeah, and I think it's like you said, it's hard to kind of understand because sometimes you don't maybe really understand what you're even feeling. Sometimes it's hard to identify
Yes.
and
Yeah.
to, just like you said, sometimes you have to try on a thought and
Hmm.
see if it's a yes thought and if that
Yeah.
fits. And and I know we've done that where we're going back and forth and talking about these things. So, as women, we have so many different roles that we play, so many different pieces to the puzzle, all those things. Girls, just think, what if it could be just beautiful? What if we could just create this beautiful life and we have our girlfriends by our side, helping us along the way to see that beauty that already is within? Girls, it's there. It's already there for you. Sometimes you just need a girlfriend to help show it to you. So, Jodi, I want to thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining us today and for coming and showing us this example. Ladies, pop into getting the magazine. It's a free download. You just download it and walk through it and connect with Jodi if you want to walk through this model with her. So, Jodi, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Any last words you'd like to leave the ladies with?
I think the last word just is what to build on what you said is I think that even when we think a thought like you had, like, what if we could? That is one of my favorite thoughts, right? What if we could handle what comes our way? What if we could achieve our goal and our dream? What if we could experience this, I shouldn't say last, but this stage that we're in that is a different stage? What if we could
Yeah.
experience it the way we want? So I agree with you. I think that we have the power to think about that, and this tool is a way to help with that.
Yes, and you can experience as a woman of a more interesting age
Yes.
that beauty within with us here at the Being Brave
Yes.
Tour, ladies. So, Jodi, thank you again for joining us, and really appreciate you walking us through this brave model. And
Yes. Thanks so much for having me.
all right, we'll see you next time, ladies.